my goodness. Ah, it's sold out.
Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Amberly Lago.
Amberly Lago's survival story is nothing short of amazing. She had it all. She was living the California dream with her husband, her 2 kids, and then a random accident changed the course of her life forever.
Seneca often said that growth of anything great is a long process. Its undoing can be rapid, even instant. A devastating injury could send someone down a spiral of rage, anger, sadness, and grief. True Grit and Grace is a story of Amberly Lago, life that was forever altered by a devastating motorcycle accident. Healing from 34 surgeries, diagnosed from chronic regional pain syndrome, Amberly is an inspiration to us all. She's a dear friend, a fellow Texan, a fitness instructor, a former professional dancer. Please give a warm welcome for Amberly Lago.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys. I hear I'm in the right spot, that you all are overachievers, so my kind of people. I was really excited to come and talk with you. Thank you so much for having me. And I really put a lot of thought into exactly what it was I wanted to share with you. And it's not any accomplishments. Instead, I want to share with you my biggest failure. Growing up in Texas, failure was a dirty word. I mean, we had to win. And there was so much pressure to win, and if you failed, there was so much shame and so much guilt. I remember being in science class and having my track coach come in and pull me out of class and say, hey, we are depending on you to get us to district. You have to come first. And I still remember what it feels like to fail an exam. And I remember that time I got kicked off the basketball team because I was really that bad. But what if we could shift our perspective? What if we could use our failures as fuel? For me, I know fear can stop me in my tracks. It can also stop us from going after what we really most desire, whether that's to further our career or whether that's to develop another relationship or another meaningful relationship. But what if we could shift our perspective? I mean, I have an intimate relationship with failure because I've experienced it a lot. I have done the walk of shame, I've been humiliated, and what I've learned over time and a lot of experience with failure is I have used it now as kind of my testing field. And instead of letting it get me down, I look at what I can learn from it. And it was an authentic catastrophe, turned out to be anything but catastrophic, and it's turned out to be one of my biggest blessings because through my motorcycle accident, I have learned so much about how to persevere and so much about resilience. Now, as you saw in the video, and he said, I was coming home from work. It's kind of weird to be over in this building because I used to work here. And I had just left this building and moved to a gym right down the street, and I was on my way home from work when the SUV hit me. And all I could think about as I was sliding across the asphalt, across Ventura Boulevard, which seemed like forever, is please don't let another car hit me. When I finally stopped, I don't think I realized just how serious it was until I looked down and I saw my leg just broken into pieces. And at the time, thank goodness I didn't know that you could bleed out from a severed femoral artery because mine was severed, and thank goodness I had somebody make a tourniquet right away on it. People were kind of approaching me really slow, and that's how I knew, wow, this must be serious, because they weren't running over to me. They were walking really slow, and they had a horrified look on their face. And I was just screaming out cuss words and can you call my husband, and rushed to the ER. And the last thing I remember before they put me in induced coma was a nurse telling me, we're going to give you something to make you feel all better. The first thing I learned when I woke up was I had a 1% chance of saving my leg. Now, they wanted to amputate it when I was in a coma, but my husband wanted me to wake up with both my legs. So, and I think he wanted them to tell me. And so I thought, you know, I don't know who bets on 1% chances, but I did because my whole life was fitness and I wanted my leg. So I fought to keep it, and that did take 34 surgeries and months in the hospital and hours of excruciating pain. And I have even known you guys through some of my surgeries because we go to the same gym, and so they would see me in and out and in and out. And I really thought that was the worst of it, and I thought the worst was done until I went into a doctor's office and was diagnosed with this nerve disease. And so what this nerve disease is it's dubbed the suicide disease because it leaves you in constant pain. Well, I tried everything. I did ketamine infusions, I had spinal blocks, and I didn't even know what ketamine was. It's like a horse tranquilizer. They were trying to reboot my nervous system. I had Western medicine. At one time, I was on 73 homeopathic pills a day, along with prescription medicine, and I was an easy target for any charlatan, any faith healer, or snake oil salesman around. It was like, we've got something that'll fix you. I was like, okay, sign me up. I mean, we had a lien on our house. We had borrowed money from a friend. Nothing was working. Nothing. And I felt like the biggest failure because every treatment that I was trying was failing. And the very thing that I fought so hard to keep was literally killing me. I was just dying inside. On the outside, I was trying to pretend like everything was okay. On the inside, I was dying. And there was just one thing that really helped me pull through, and I think we all have it. It's just, how do we tap into it? It's our resilience, and it's our ability to overcome obstacles, go through challenges, and thrive. I didn't want to just survive anymore. I wanted to thrive. So I had to take a look at, well, what was I doing every day? What could I do to strengthen my resilience? And so one day I was sitting at dinner with my husband, and he looked at me and he was like, you really need to pace yourself. And I was like, I am pacing myself. And I was kind of pissed off, and some of you overachievers may understand that feeling of when somebody is telling you to slow down. I'm like, this is my pace. I'm full throttle. But then I kind of stopped and I listened, and I thought about it, and I started writing down on a piece of paper everything I do every day to pace through, to get through failures, to get through the pain. Because the truth is, the pain was here to stay. And I had to make a different choice. Because I think a lot of us, when we're dealing with struggles or failures or pain, whether that's emotional or physical, we don't talk about it. Like for me, I was brought up not to talk about that. You know, I grew up in Texas where we had sayings like, hide your crazy and be a lady, or suck it up, cowgirl up. And so to show vulnerability or to admit that there was something wrong was just not in my makeup. It was not my wheelhouse. And so I had to do something different because nothing was working. I had lost my career. I had lost my hope. I had lost my confidence. And that one thing, that one thread that kept me hanging on, I thought, I've got to hang on to that, and I've got to keep doing it and strengthen it. So I started writing down on this little dinner napkin, and I wrote down the word pacer. And the first word of pacer, and I gave you a handout so you can kind of see, because sometimes I use slides, but I kind of wanted you to see what pacer stands for. And P stands for perspective. And it's powerful because you can change your life with one simple shift in perspective. And it's something that I do on a daily basis. And it really is the cheapest and easiest way to shift your mindset and change the way you feel about your situation. I mean, how many times do you not feel like getting up and going to the gym? Or how many times do you not feel like coming to work? Well, you don't have to answer that here. But I've been sitting at the bottom of the mountain before and thought, oh, I really don't want to hike today. I really don't want to do this. And then I shift my perspective and go, you know what? I am blessed that I am able to do that. So I've really had to consciously go, you know, I don't have to, I want to, I get to. And just like the other day, I was on my way to pick up my daughter from school. And I'm driving, and my leg feels like there's a vice grip on it. And so as I'm driving, I just put my right leg up on the dashboard, and I'm driving with my left foot. So if y'all see any black F-250s, just stay away, because I've gotten pretty good at it. And I get to her school, there's no parking. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to walk that far? And I start sinking down into a pity party. And I had to consciously shift my perspective to, you know what? At least I'm out of the hospital. I can walk. I've got both my legs. I've got crutches in the back of the truck. I can use those. And then all of a sudden I started feeling grateful for my life, grateful for what I do have. And gratitude changes everything. It puts our focus on what we do have instead of what we don't have. And it puts our focus on what we can do. And it really shifts your mindset. When I'm focused on gratitude, it led me to acceptance, and that's the second part of PACER. And some things are easier said than done. For me, acceptance was hard. I did not want to accept not only what my life was, knowing that I was going to live with a disease dubbed the suicide disease because people just can't live with it anymore. They can't live with the pain, and that there's no cure. I didn't want to live with the fact I hated my scars. I hated my leg, and hate's a 4-letter word in our family, and I hated it. But it wasn't until I went to see one of my doctors, and he sat down in front of me, and he was wearing his nice white coat, and he put my leg in his lap, and he looked at it like it was a piece of art. And I thought, you know what? If he can look at it that way, maybe I can learn to look at it differently too. And something shifted in me. And I started to be in more acceptance of my situation. And I was speaking at a doctor's clinic about acceptance, and I had someone come up to me and say, well, you know what? I don't want to accept where I am right now. I don't want to accept that I have back pain. And I said, you already have. You're here. You're at this doctor's clinic, and you're doing something about it. Acceptance doesn't mean you're admitting defeat. Acceptance means you're out of denial and you are ready to take action and do whatever you can to better yourself. So acceptance really is the first step to being willing to succeed. And when I started to be in acceptance, something happened. Like I was able to, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders because I was able then to talk to other people about what I was going through. And that led me to a community of people like you have here. You guys have each other. I love this community. Arash was sharing with me that some of the things that you did about how you told each other thank you for what some of you did for each other. And I love that because it strengthens your community. I had a community when I was in the hospital, and I had a friend say, well, you're really lucky that you had a community. And I did in the hospital. I had great doctors and great nurses, and I had my family and my friends. And I think I needed my clients more than they needed me because I needed a purpose. I needed a reason to get out of bed. So I did whatever I could to take the focus off of me sitting in a hospital bed. And I made calls to people. I was calling clients to make sure they were set up with other trainers. I had some nurses asking me, well, they found out I was a personal trainer, like, well, how do I get a better booty? So I was like giving them exercise tips. So I was doing whatever I could to be of service. And I promise you, when you reach out and you do something for someone else, it's medicine. It makes you feel better. And so when somebody said you're lucky you have community, it was like, it wasn't luck. It's something that you have to do and you have to work on and you have to build, like you guys are doing in here. It's something, I had somebody say, well, what's the boldest thing you've ever done? And I'm like, well, I've done some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, I've jumped out of a plane, I've bungee jumped. I used to be addicted to riding the mechanical bull, but the boldest thing I've ever done was when I reached out for help. When I said, things aren't good. I think I need some help. That takes courage. That takes courage to admit that you need help and to reach out your hand. So whatever you're going through, starting today, I know it takes courage. Reach out to one person and just share it with them, and I promise it makes you feel better. And it strengthens your resilience. It really does, because it's human condition to face challenges and struggle with fears. And it takes a lot of endurance. And E is for endurance. I knew a little bit about endurance because growing up, being an athlete and a dancer, when you're running on that track and you're puking, the coach didn't care. She's like off the track to throw up and then keep running. When I was dancing and in my point shoes, my toes would be bleeding, and she didn't care. She's like, keep dancing, the show must go on. But what I had to learn was endurance wasn't just about enduring pain. I got myself into trouble by sucking it up, and that worked until it didn't, because by sucking it up, all I did was I was in denial, and I did other things to try to cover it up, like, I don't know, numbing out, ignoring it, eating too much, drinking too much, shopping too much, and that all worked until it didn't. And so with endurance, I realized it wasn't about enduring all my failures, enduring the pain that all my failures caused. It was about really doing my best despite my circumstances. So it was being willing to show up and get gritty and persevere. And really all you need to do is just be willing. If you can sit here today and just say, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm going to show up every day. I'm willing to work and do whatever I have to do to build my community, to strengthen my resilience. There's nothing more powerful than a passionate person that just won't give up. I mean, they can outdo talent. When somebody just won't give up. But we all need to rest. And the last part of Pacer is rest. And when it came to this part, and I was explaining everything to my husband, I was reading off my dinner napkin saying, yeah, this is what I do. You know, it's perspective and acceptance and community. When it came down to rest, he was like, you are so full of crap. He's like, you don't rest. And the truth is, I'm still learning to rest. But, you know, in my mind, resting meant quitting, and I did not want to be a quitter. But, you know, in my mind, it was like, don't quit, keep going, no pain, no gain. And that landed me in the hospital not one time, not two, several times. In fact, at one time it landed me in the hospital in ICU, and the doctor said if I would have waited one more day, that I would have died. And that was my wake-up call. That was my sign to start listening to my body, to rest. And if you really want to strengthen your resilience, you can start by strategically stopping. And that means really plan out. How can you be tough? You can be tough by being creative with ways to rest mentally and physically. So in today's busy schedule, we've got never-ending to-do lists. We've got, you know, get in bed at night, my mind's just going. It's hard to shut down. It's hard to rest when you've got the deadlines and the to-do list. It's finding creative ways to take breaks and rest. And now that doesn't mean that y'all can be sleeping at your desk and resting, and they come in and you're like, hey, I'm doing the R part of Pacer, you know? But it does mean like finding different ways to rest. I can't tell you how many times I've been, you know, throughout the day, I'm like, oh, my phone's dead. And I plug it in. Now, how come we don't do the same for ourselves? So think about what you do that recharges you. Is that being with your family? Is that being with one of your friends? Is that just going out in nature? For me, I can just take a break during the middle of the day and go out and be in nature and feel better with my family. And if I have the chance, I go to the ocean. I feel like that just really rejuvenates me. And then I wanted to share something that I use too, because a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get in bed and I just can't shut my mind off. Or I'm so tired and I want to take like a 5-minute rest during the day, but my mind is just going. And so, and I was never good at meditating. Like it was hard for me. I go, how does this work? I try to meditate and I'm just thinking about what I have to do and that I have this coming up and that coming up and I got to pick my daughter up and so I don't have any affiliation with this at all, but I use it and I wanted to share with you. It's Calm. I don't know if you have ever heard Calm. Have you heard of Calm? I love it. I don't remember how much it costs, but I use it every day. And my husband thinks I'm completely like wacky and lost my mind because he comes in to tell me goodnight, I've got the ocean playing next to the bed, but it's got meditations, and it's got like I can do a 5-minute meditation or a 20-minute meditation. It's got bedtime stories. And when my mind is going, I can just listen to the ocean even though I'm not there at the ocean. So it's finding creative ways to rest and rejuvenate. Also, I wanted to talk to you about daily habits and how your success lies within your daily habits. And that it's when I really take a look at what I do every day, and if you really take a look at what you're doing every day, you're going to see, and it's all about that acceptance, where you need to improve, what you need to be doing. Every day, I think if I didn't start my day off in a calm, positive way, it would affect the rest of my day. So I start off every day and I wake up before anybody else because before it gets crazy in the household, and I have time to just have quiet time, and I might read an affirmation or one of my books, but I have quiet time to set the tone for the day. Then I take time to meditate, write in a journal, and I start my day off with gratitude. And I write 3 things that I'm grateful for, or 3 people that I'm grateful for. And then if you want to take that a step further, you can even send them a message or give them a call and say, hey, I was just thinking about you today and just wanted to tell you how grateful I am for you for all these things that you do for me. And then move your body. When I was stuck in the hospital bed, every single doctor wanted to give me antidepressants. And look, I know I have a family history of depression. My brother's on prescription medication. I know some people need medicine, and that's fine. For me, I didn't want to take it. And every time I tried to take it, I would get sick. I would throw up. So I tried medication after medication, and I told the doctor, I said, look, if I can just work out, I'll be okay. I need the endorphins. And so I had one of my friends from the gym bring me dumbbells, and I was in the hospital bed doing curls. Then I had the doctor install a pull-up bar so I could do pull-ups in the bed. I was doing everything I could to stay strong physically and mentally. And to be resilient, it's not just waking up and saying, oh, I'm going to be resilient today. It is that willingness to get up every day and get gritty. And it's the grace to do it with kindness. It's a mind, body, spirit transformation. So you really have to get up with the intention of mentally being resilient, physically being resilient. Like looking at what you're eating, looking at how much you're sleeping, just taking a look at that. And the journaling will help with that. And I know that sometimes I don't like homework, but I'm giving you, it's easy, I promise, it's easy homework. Because I want you, my hopes is that, I talk about your success lies in your daily habits. And my sincere wish is that when you're having a hard time, if you're going through any kind of struggle, if you're feeling anxious, if you're hurting, that you can think about Pacer and go through the steps, and hopefully that will help you get through that. I know that right before I was going to give my TED Talk, I was in the ER. My youngest daughter had the flu. And so I got home and I was going upstairs and downstairs to practice my talk, and then downstairs to hold the throw-up bucket for her, and my back went out. And I was lying in the middle of my bedroom floor, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And my girlfriend texted me. She's like, hey, how are you? And I was like, it sucks. Sucks really bad right now. I'm lying on the middle of the floor, and she texted one word back to me. She texted Pacer. And it immediately, my anxiety was gone. And because my anxiety was better, my back started to relax. And I thought, you know what? The universe has a funny sense of humor for getting me to believe in my message a little bit more right before I'm about to go share it. But it worked for me, and I really sincerely hope it works for you. And for your homework, I gave you a little card. And you can use it as a bookmark or a reminder. I would love if you took some time and wrote down something that there's going on in your life right now that you need to accept. Because when we accept something, we are saying, I'm willing. I'm willing to do whatever I can to make this better, to improve. Whether it's mentally, maybe it's a relationship, whatever, that there's something that you need to accept. Gratitude, we talked about. Gratitude saved me. It really saved me, and it really changes my whole mood throughout the day. When I just focus on gratitude, it helps shift my perspective. So you can either write something you're grateful for. Every night when I go to bed and I'm put my daughter to bed, I always say, what's one thing you're grateful for? What was the best thing that happened today? What are you grateful for? To get her in that practice. Usually it's something so crazy, like really like potty words or something. But, and then support. How can you be of support? How can you ask for support? Like I said, the thing that that was the hardest for me was to say, I need help. So if you know of somebody that's struggling, just please reach out to them. And if you're struggling with something, you guys have an awesome community right here that it's going to strengthen your community to reach out and help one another. Also, if you really get into that, does anybody in here journal? You journal? Do you practice the gratitude? Like, do you ever practice like a daily gratitude or anything like that, or you just?
Not daily, but I do. I do gratitude.
Okay, that's good. I have, if it will help, there's a link on my website. You can download. There's a free downloadable gratitude journal that may help you just to get you in the practice. And it kind of prompts you to say what you're grateful for, who you're grateful for, and just kind of puts you in the mindset of being willing to get through the day with resilience. I would love to open up the floor now for questions. Anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about? Come on.
Most people, they say that change comes once you are at that point where you're either like just fed up, reached your limit. Did you reach that limit in the hospital? Was that a mental breakthrough you had? When did that occur for you?
That's a good question. I remember we were remodeling our house, and we were in this tiny little rental house that was it was Charlie Chaplin's. Used to be where Charlie Chaplin lived, and everything was miniature. Like the sink was like you had to brush your teeth. Like everything was tiny, and it was really small and dark. And like I said, I was not dealing with things. I was kind of in denial, and I was just dying inside because I was hurting so bad and nothing was working, and I felt like a failure to everybody, my clients, my husband. And I thought, oh well, wine kind of helps with this. And so I started drinking, and I remember, this is not my life. This is not where I imagined my life to be. And I have got a choice. I can either keep going down that road, because I would have, that was leading me to nothing but darkness. Or I had a choice to choose to be happy. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be happy. It takes work. And like I said, it took a willingness. But, the Latin word for resilience is to bounce back. For me, I wasn't really bouncing back. I was having to bounce forward and reinvent myself. And with change, I think if we get caught up and thinking about our past accomplishments, thinking about what we used to be able to do, like my mom read my book, and she's like, oh, could you take out that one part that you talk about your stepdad abusing you? Because if I would have known about that, I would. And I said, Mom, this isn't a book about woulda, coulda, shoulda. This is a book about, this is the shit that hit the fan, and this is how I'm dealing with it. And I think that was the day that I hit rock bottom. And, to be resilient, you need a springboard or a foundation, and that rock bottom proved a pretty good springboard for me to get out of that darkness. And so now I'm just really passionate about trying to share the tools that I've learned along the way so no one else has to go down that road, because I never want to go back there.
So I've crashed a few times on the motorcycle throughout teenager years and while I was younger. But I kept, after the last one, then I stopped. But fortunately for me, I didn't have any consequences. Have you considered riding again or no?
It's interesting you should ask that. I have a lot of people ask me that. And it's so hard because my motorcycle is just demolished. But my husband, I only married him because he had a Texas chopper, and I thought he was hot. That and his dental plan, just kidding. But I looked out my window yesterday, and he was flatbedding his Texas chopper. He hasn't ridden since my motorcycle accident. He kind of lost the nerve. I think when you've gone down or you've seen someone go down, it kind of shakes you a little bit, and you're like, oh, that could be me. But he's thinking about riding again, and so I said, so I don't usually like to ride on the back. But I was like, maybe I could go for a ride. And he goes, no, you are never going on a motorcycle again. So to me, it's just not worth it. I think there's so many people now that are texting while driving, and it's worse than like drunk drivers now. I don't know if you know, but everybody's like swerving over, and it just scares me. I think when you're on a bike, you're going to go down. It's just when and where. So it's not a gamble that I'm really willing to take anymore.
It's the F-250, right?
Yeah, right? I got the F-250. I feel safe. You guys have such an amazing community. I mean, you guys, I can just tell your energy is so awesome, and it's so good to be here. And one of the things I always say is really surround yourself. Like, if you want to be inspired and you want to be motivated, hang around inspirational, motivated, passionate people, and that's what you guys are. You are like my people, man. You're like go-getters. And then, also, like I said, talking about failure or failure, but also talking about comparison earlier, I really feel like comparison is the thief of joy. And I get caught up not even comparing myself to other people, which just leads me into like a downward spiral of, oh, look what they're doing. Oh, they have more. They have this. There's always going to be somebody that has more or does more. You just have to focus on staying in your lane and focus on your purpose and ask yourself, circle back to, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? So I always circle back to, okay, no, why am I doing this? And that will give you your answer. That gets me right back on track. And believe me, nobody's posting their failures on social media. You aren't seeing the behind the scenes. Like I traveled a lot this past year, and I had somebody go, oh my God, it looks like you're having so much fun. You were in Dallas and Miami, and you're doing that book signing. And I was like, it's not fun. I mean, it was fun, but they didn't see all the work that went behind it. They didn't see me when I was like exhausted with my leg propped up in so much pain. Because I'm not posting that. I don't want to be a doggy downer. And that was one thing that I had to do, was really take a look in my life and take inventory of who was in my life, because I want to be around inspired, positive people. And I had to kind of get rid of those doggy downers and stick with the puppy uppers. And it went for the same for even my social media. If I had people that were just posting negative stuff, we are who we. Have you heard that saying? You are who, like the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Mm-hmm. Well, it's time to level up. Time to level up. And so, even on social media, if there's somebody, unfollow people that make you feel like crap. Don't follow them. Follow people that make you feel good. Reach out to them, talk to them, because the people that we surround ourselves with, that really influences not just who we are, but how well we do. It influences everything from how we treat our spouse in our marriage or our partner to how well we do at work. If you're hanging around people, look, I had a talk with my 11-year-old. She just turned 11. And she was hanging out with these kids at school. She's in 5th grade. One of them got busted for vaping. The other one tried to climb the fence and escape school. And the other one's sent to the principal's office all the time. And I'm like, Ruby, what are you doing hanging out with him? She goes, but Mama, I'm not doing anything wrong. I said, you're guilty by association. I said, you're hanging out with them. And before long, if you keep doing that, before long, you're going to be doing exactly what they're doing. And, of course, she's just crying, tears. You don't like my friends. And I'm like, well, I kind of don't. But you know, it's like I try to instill in my kids that you want to hang around people that have integrity. You know, so I think community, that's why I'm just so happy to be in this room with you guys, because I can tell what an awesome community you are. Is anybody?
So going back to your notion of taster, sorry, I turned red really quickly when there's attention on me. So going back to your perspective and rest concept, what I wanted to know is, because for me, I always say a commitment is a commitment. Your life is so caught up in what you have to do, your responsibilities, that how do you find a balance? How do you shift your perspective to see that you're not quitting something that was a commitment, and try to see it as a positive thing?
When you're saying yes to, well, and I always remember this, when my plate's too full, I'm like, I'm the one that filled it. And in fact, right before I came here today, my oldest daughter, who's in college, she called me and she was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. I need your advice. I'm supposed to work in lab, and if I'm not in lab, then these cells are going to die. I don't know. She's studying to be a doctor, and I don't even know half the stuff she's talking about. And she said, but then they needed me to work at the coroner's office, and they're going to start paying me to work there, and I can't be in both places. And I'm like, well, what's more important? And when you say yes to something, you have to know you're saying no to something else. But for me, because I'm still in pain all the time, it is so important to, when I commit myself to something, that I look and see, well, how is that going to affect me? I look and I say, is that in my best interest? Am I saying no to myself, no to my health, no to my family? Is it worth it? So I really, I'm really big, I'm very pragmatic, and I like making lists. I like going, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons. Because I think, you know, for me, I feel guilty. It's hard to say no. But the more that you value your self-worth, the easier it is to say no. So the more you value your time, the easier it is to say no to something. And you don't have to explain yourself away. No is a powerful word, a very powerful word. So just really, I make a list, and you have to know that your rest is a priority. For me, if I don't have enough rest, the thing that scares me is, like, I can deal with pain. I've got that, like I said, a PhD in suck it up. I'm tough, man. That doctor was like, are you the kind of girl that likes to push through pain? I'm like, duh, yeah, I'm standing up. And I have to be careful, because I can overdo it, and my pain can start to mentally mess with my head the way I think, or I can't put together an email properly, and I think it's the same with any of us. If you're ever too tired, if you're just pushing, and you're not getting enough rest, you can't be as sharp. You can't be as creative. So if you take the time to take care of yourself and rest a little, you're going to be inspired to be more creative. You're going to be inspired to do better at your job. You're going to be inspired to make more commitments, but in the right timing. Things that are meant for you will always come your way. I think anything that's truly meant for you will come your way. I think you had a question over here.
Oh, I was just going to ask, have you heard of, there's this thing called binaural beats? And
It's kind of like a calm app.
it's like your little, like your ocean waves, but it's more like scientific. Like,
Is it goggles you wear too?
No, it's you type it in on YouTube, binaural beats, and it supposedly changes the frequency. It's for like focus, rest, or relaxation. There, for like meditation.
Really?
And it sounds very like repetitive the first minute or so, but after you get used to it, you stop hearing it, and I guess it worked for me. So like,
I'm gonna write that down. What is it again?
binaural, B-I-N-U-R-A-L.
Wait. Thank you. Oh, you'll send. Thank you. Thank you.
And it's a real good one too, because I have a hard time sleeping. I mean, it takes like forever to get me to go to sleep. So that he actually told me about that too, and I'm like, and it was the beat. If you like calm, you'll really like that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like
I'm
a
gonna
drum
try
beat.
that. Thank you.
Changes the frequency, or
And I think that's that's powerful. Like the frequency. Well, like my nerve disease is all from the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system controls goosebumps, sweating, temperature, and I've used machines that try to help with pain, and it changes the frequency. It's supposed to like reboot your nervous system. So I'd be interested to try that to see if that would just help relax, because I think when we relax and we rest, it relaxes our nervous system and everything. Now watch, you're going to come. They're all going to be sleeping at their desk. Hey, we're doing the R. That's what my husband says to me now. He goes, Amberly, where's the R? You're leaving out the R. And I'm like, well, at least he's using pacer. So I hope it allows you to pace through anything that you're going through, because when I first explained it to my oldest daughter, how, this really helps me get through my pain, and she goes, Mom, it has helped you get through addiction, through fear, through anxiety. It helps with a lot. And I was like, oh, wow. And so I've been using it for a lot of things. So I really, truly hope that it really helps for you guys. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share with you guys. Thank you.
Amberly, you're an incredible speaker. Incredible. And I know everyone here got inspired by your message. Thank you. We have a token that we hand out as the Genius Makers, and we want to present you with an honorary Genius Maker token.
Oh, I love this. I'm going to frame it. Oh, I love it.
Yes, please. Will you take a picture with our group?
Oh my goodness.
Is that okay?
I would love that.
Are we ready to do that? and how do we do that? How do we do that? Do we like turn around and maybe this way?
It could work like a selfie this way.
This way?
For sure it has to be an Android.
An Android. Can be an